But yeah, on that March 12th show, we did have, I think, the best segment all month, which is Dusty Rhodes in the ring with David Flair and Brian Lawler.
I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved every second of it.
Because we did get the big reveal at the end of the March 5th show, where we finally saw, after the Raven and Sandman Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, David Flair did reveal that he had the NWA title belt in his satchel, and that's what he's been hitting people with. It's his dad's old NWA title.
I'll take a victory on that for saying it was a belt.
Even though you said it was the wrong belt.
Whoa, I don't have to bring that part up.
So the next week, Dusty's like, you don't deserve that belt, you're not champions. And then Brian Lawler and David Flair are very upset. But then Dusty does a turn. It's like, you want to be king, you want to be king. And Brian Lawler's like, yeah, I want to be king like my dad. And then Dusty's like, give me 5. And he slaps Brian Lawler in the face. And it's like, you could be the king of these nuts. And the crowd go nuts.
And the crowd goes fucking insane.
It's like the biggest pop in TNA history for that these nuts delivery.
And the best part is, hits him with the D's nuts, and then they close up on Brian Lawler's face, and Dusty just starts throwing hands. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, he hits him with the D's nuts, then he's gonna heat him up. He doesn't care about anything. And then bam, hits the double elbows. Eric Watts runs in, and then it goes downhill a little bit.
Yeah, then D'Lo and Jarrett made the save to set up a 6-man tag for the next week. But that's the segment. Dusty is like so insanely charismatic in the entire segment. He's just like the coolest guy in this company because he's a guy who can actually cut a promo and he's not being a nerd.
He's the best guy in the company.
Easily. Like, he's the biggest star, he's the best promo, he's the only guy who's like a good baby face, like up and down all of these shows.
And he looks like he's having fun being there. Like, it isn't just a paycheck for him.
He's just having a good time, and like as we mentioned, by all accounts, he's looking at like, maybe I can get in and get the book in this company. So
I desperately wish we lived in the timeline where Dusty got the book in this company.
So yeah, Dusty rules. I love him so much. Even like the next week or the last week of the month, Dusty does this promo from his farm.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Or he's like getting weapons for his bunkhouse brawl. He's filling up his wheelbarrow with the weapons to beat up David Flair with, and he's just doing a Dusty promo. And like, oh, Dusty, I love him. He's like maybe even the only good thing about this month, but he's great. Dusty is great.
Someone suggest for our paid stuff that we just do a Dusty retrospective. I want to see Dusty.
Watch Dusty in his prime. Watch some great Dusty promos. And like, this is Dusty in his prime. This is Dusty just being his charismatic self. He's not like a main event act, though he does get some title shots coming down the line. You can look forward to those. But
I am.
Dusty Rhodes, man. What a charisma. Who would have known that Dusty Rhodes is a charismatic pro wrestler who can carry a wrestling show even into his probably 50s at this stage?
Dusty Rhodes, currently my front runner for 2003 TNA Wrestler of the Year.
He is the best wrestler in the company. It's undeniable.
Just tremendous stuff. I love Dusty so much.
And in the last show of the month, he does have a bunkhouse match against David Flair where he just utterly squashes him in 2 minutes. Which brings us to the highlight of the month, which is, once again, for the second month in a row, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
He's the best of all. I don't care. I'm going to call an audible and say, after we finish Ring Ka King, we're doing some Dusty thing. I don't know what it is, but we're doing some Dusty thing.
Given Ring Ka King is only one 40-minute show a week, we can do more. Like we've gone from watching 3 hours for the Patreon to watching 40 minutes, so we have more time.
All right, we can maybe work out something for some sort of Dusty show. We'll call it the Dusty Finish.
Very good. See, this is a wrestling reference.
Yes.
So all the way back to the first show of the month, Brian Lawler defeats Chris Harris after Lawler and Flair attack after the match. Dusty makes the save, and then we get probably the best promo in TNA history to this point.
Garrett, do you want to be part of Dusty Rhodes' posse?
Oh, I'd love to be part of Dusty Rhodes' posse.
You want to be a posse?
You guys want to be in my posse? Yeah. Then Brian Lawler responds, "You couldn't get posse if you were the last man on earth." And then Dusty responds, "Oh, I've gotten a bunch of posse in my day, boy."
He just looked at him and said, "You can't get no posse."
Everything about this promo was so good because, like, Brian Lawler is like, "You should have called yourself an old fat man."
And then Dusty's like, "Oh no, you hurt me. You called me fat."
And there's a point where like the segment is clearly going long, and Dusty just turns and looks down the hard camera. It's like Keith Mitchell, who's in the director in the truck. He's like, "Keith, I know I'm going long, but this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and I gotta teach him a lesson."
And Just a tremendous promo all around.
It's like everything about it is so good, and like there's even a moment where he's like cutting a promo about tradition and how like you didn't earn the belt and you didn't get the belt, and I went down to the Sportatorium in Dallas and I got my ass kicked and I was 19 and I knew then I would have to earn the belt and I would have to sweat and blood and tears to become NWA champion, and you just think you can walk around with a title you don't deserve. And it's like it's just such a good promo. Never mind like the antics stuff they do later. It's like, oh, everything about Dusty is great.
Garrett, we gotta watch some like NWA Dusty stuff. I'm so into it. We have to.
Like Dusty is the highest paid roster member other than Jeff Jarrett, and he deserves it. He earns every cent.
Oh, I love it. Of course, the big payoff to this promo is he lets Lawler pick any match he wants for the NWA title, and he picks a ladder match, and then Dusty gets very serious, and he's like, "Fuck, I have to climb a ladder."
But he's going to do it because he wants to get that NWA title back. So then the following week, April 9th, he faces Brian Lawler in a ladder match, which, look, it's Dusty Rhodes in a ladder match. It's not a good match.
No, excuse me. It's Brian Lawler versus Dusty Rhodes in a ladder match for Ric Flair's NWA title. 5 stars.
Well, you didn't give it 5 stars. Why did you give it 5 stars, Liam?
I'm giving it 5 stars from the heart. Not from the head, but from the heart.
It's not a good match, but it is. It rules. It's so good.
Is this on the same show as the Saturn?
Yes, which might actually be the best show in TNA history at this point.
Okay, so while you're there to watch like the legitimately good Saturn Barn match, watch this as well, because when else are you going to see that?
Dusty breaks out a small step ladder. It's like a 3-step ladder. He climbs it. And he drops off the ladder, and then like Mike Tenay and Don West are baffled as to why he has a step ladder, because he obviously can't win with a step ladder. And then Don West is like, "Oh, now I get what he was planning." It's like, "You tell me, Don." He's like, "He was dropping an elbow off it, Mike."
Yeah, rules, tremendous stuff. And then we get the big payoff to the angle from a couple weeks
so David Flair runs out, interferes. Flair and Lawler are about to win until Nikita Koloff shows up. And after all the teases, after the dissension they had between each other, whether or not Nikita Koloff was part of sex, Koloff helps Dusty retain the belt. Koloff climbs the ladder. Like, Nikita Koloff is the man who climbs the ladder and pulls the belt down. He also struggles to pull the belt down. He can't unstrap it, so he just literally grabs it with both hands and pulls it off of the harness thing.
Yeah. I also got to give credit to my man Nikita Koloff. He had the drip on for this. My man was looking fresh. It's your current
Twitter profile picture, I noticed.
Yeah. My man was looking fresh here. Had the beanie, had the long sleeve black shirt. Oh, dripped out.
So they have a moment where Koloff is standing in the ring with the belt, and he's like, is he going to give it to Dusty? Is he going to run away with it? Is he going to hit Dusty with it? Then he hands it to Dusty, and the superpowers are back together. They've reconciled. And Don West goes into full pro-America mode. It's like, in these trying patriotic times, it's so great to see the superpowers back together.
See, I didn't hear that part because I literally leapt up and fist bumped when it
crowd go nuts. Dusty and Koloff are
me going nuts in my house.
Happy back together, but then Eric Watts shows up and steals the belt anyway.
And I was like, yeah, everything I love is in this.
I love how it's like this big moment. They got the belt back, and Watts just strolls up behind them, yoinks it, and runs away.
Listen, you're describing a lot of Eric Watts segments while laughing gleefully. Just admit you like him. Just admit that you're into Eric Watts. Look, voice cracking because you are. Stop lying to yourself. Life gets a lot better when you admit that you like Eric Watts.
You are going to regret this defense of Eric Watts.
No, I'm not. He will never get bad.
So Dusty wins the ladder match against Brian Lawler with the help of Nikita Koloff. One of the things that feels like a random thing that would never get paid off. And it got paid off.
And it seems like that might be the last we see of Lawler and Flair.
I think we do see one more of Lawler. There's a gauntlet match in the next show that I think Lawler's in. Then we see the last of Lawler. We have seen the last of Flair, sadly. This is the end of David Flair's TNA run, which just at the moment I was like, you know what? I'm okay with seeing more David Flair. David Flair's gone.
Hey, he has to have one company in history where at the end you were like, didn't mind that, David Flair. Didn't mind that.
It's a good end to his career.
You know what? Guess what? I'm saying it right now. David Flair's TNA run. Thumbs
good
up.
job, Dave. You did it. You became a perfectly competent, acceptable, agreeable pro wrestler.
Agreeable goon.
Well done.